I'm elated today to have my brother who has been in this work for me for almost 30 years. And as I've shared, we started this podcast because I've had the chance to meet some extraordinary people who are champions and heroes in this work. And my friend, my brother, Mr. Ron Pringle, CEO of the Interfaith Food Shuttle in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Your people are going to be
My
excited.
Canadians are going to be happy.
All right. Well, welcome back
Thank you,
home,
man, for having me. It's an honor to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
here. I just enjoyed being in town, and finding some of the little quaint spots here that I really love.
Absolutely,
You
yeah.
know, like I just had breakfast at Alex.
Oh, man.
Surrounded by some veterans, man, hearing some old war stories.
That's the
You
old
know, that's
spot, Fish
just
Creek, brother.
exactly, man.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
the little things like that about this town is what I miss.
Yeah, the charm.
The
Yeah.
charm, exactly.
So we're here to talk about your why and hopefully influence some others around your journey in this work. Can you share with me, and I want you to dig deep in this because I know you as a brother, what is your why? How did you get started in this work? And how has that shaped you professionally or personally?
That's a really good question. The why, I think, for me runs deep, you know, and it was a why that I did not understand until later in my career. But when I look back, I saw the evidence of what was the defining of that why.
Yeah.
From growing up, losing a mom.
Right.
When it seems as if your in the world stops.
Right.
But everything else around you just keep moving.
Right.
And then with my grandmother stepping in and going to the food bank, thinking about those little moments of what it felt like for her.
Right.
How the people treated her.
Yeah.
The smiles, the dignity, the no judgment.
Absolutely.
The being that part of community.
Yeah.
And then fast forwarding, serving in Desert Storm.
Right.
And working with the chaplaincy as a chaplain's assistant, being present, listening to soldiers, being present for them and hearing their story, hearing and helping them to get through some very challenging situations.
Absolutely.
All of those things began to frame the why that I didn't realize until later.
Yeah.
And starting at the food bank, another pivotal moment, working there with you, and I tell this story all the time because I started on a Thursday, working in the warehouse, and the next day, that Friday, you said, hey, let me show you how to use this computer. And then Monday, you called out with the flu and left me all week.
I remember that.
Yeah. So we used to call that Hell Week, but all of that helped to frame the why because I saw the impact when I look back on what those moments had on me, but also what those individuals around me felt.
Right.
And so that was something that I took on the responsibility to say it is my responsibility now to ensure that that dignity that I felt, that my grandmother felt, that's present.
Right.
That lack or feeling of not being a charity case, but having a partner that is helping you and being seen, those are the things that I took responsibility for and said that somebody has to keep that work going.
Absolutely.
And so the why for me runs really, really deep.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing because I've been on those trucks with you going to the food shuttle at the time.
That's right.
And to your point, we started at the food bank really in a special time where we were transferring from Ladson to the North Charleston area. And that's where I would share with you, Ron, that, in this work, leadership can be alone at times. It can feel lonely.
Yeah.
I will share with you when you came on that Thursday, that was one of the pivotal moments for me to understand what it means to have a partner in this work. It wasn't that you work for me, it's that we work side by side in this work. And that's so important and critical to have a partner in this work who knows who you are, who's going to challenge you and not be a yes person.
Yeah.
But challenge your thoughts around how do we serve people better? How do we get logistically better at serving and meeting the needs of our people? And how do we take care of our own people who work alongside us in these trenches? And so I just want to thank you again for being such a great partner and not ever being that yes person.
Yeah.
You're a whole human being. You and I have not always seen eye to eye.
No, we're not supposed to.
Absolutely. So we've left some rooms where, you definitely was not excited about decisions that I've made and vice versa, but we've stayed connected. Can you share why and how that, has shaped you or how you felt in this partnership that we've had over the last almost 30 years?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because there's so many of those moments where some hard lessons were learned.
Right.
And now in my leadership, when I see those, different situation, but the concept is just the same.
Right.
When I see tension among my staff now, and sometimes they think I'm jokey all the time because I just look at them and smile. And even though they're in their most upset moment right there, I just kind of smile because in my mind, you're growing.
Right.
In my mind, you're learning because you're stayed with the conversation.
Yeah.
And that is the part that I try to teach and how I try to lead is to stay with the conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation is supposed to be tough. If it was easy, the world would be a much better place.
Right.
But to make this world and to keep this world a better place, you have to be able to have those tough conversations. You have to be able to agree to disagree.
Right.
But being able to pause for a moment and put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
It starts internally with your team.
Yeah.
Let me stand where you are,
Right.
so I can see it from your perception.
Yep.
And what feelings?
Because if you never did the work, how can you tell me?
How can you tell?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So let me stand there so I can understand what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And now it gives me a better understanding of why
Right.
you are so passionate
Yeah.
about what you're viewing from that lens. Because it's how you have to approach community if you want to bring about real change.
Okay.
We are, with some programs, we show up in communities and we're offering the service that we provide.
Yep.
But are we building a community and helping the community to thrive and to become self-sustaining, or are we enabling?
I love that.
And so if you're building, you have to know how to have tough conversations.
Absolutely.
So if we can't have a tough conversation internally, then I'm not going to expect you to be able to do that when you're in front of someone that you don't know in a new community that is very passionate about their community, that sees barriers that you don't see.
Right.
And you got to be able to put yourself in that person's shoes and be able to see it from their lens in order to come out with to assist with a plan that a shared strategy to remove that barrier. So all of those little lessons have helped to define my leadership. But it takes that self-reflection. Those
humility.
moments where you have to step back and say, how did I do today? What did I miss today? Where were the opportunities today? So that it's all encompassing in how I have learned to lead, and that has grown over the years. Learning from each other, and because in this body of work, there's not many people that look like us. That we're able to lean on and say, hey, how did you handle this conversation? The rooms that, I find myself in at times, I'm the only one that looked like me in that room.
I understand.
And so you have to be able to get other individuals to see from your perspective, because you're not just bringing in a passionate talk.
Right.
You're bringing in a lived experience that can be turned into strategy.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I love, how you incorporate talking about how to build strong communities. And I just had an opportunity to come to your conference.
Yes.
Your first agricultural conference. And you brought local farmers in, talked to folks from Chicago and around the country. Can you just share with me, how does leadership play a role in building stronger communities? Because I see you doing it in Raleigh, North Carolina, with your farmers, with your communities, and with your corporate partners.
Yeah, it's really allowing them to lead.
Yeah.
It's learning the solutions from the communities that we're serving.
Gotcha. So now let's take a look at what's next on the horizon for Our Lady of Mercy Community Outreach.
At Our Lady of Mercy Community Outreach, loving your neighbor isn't just a phase, it's a promise. Join us for the Love Your Neighbor celebration, an unforgettable evening bringing our community together to support neighbors in need. From inspiring stories to meaningful impact, this night fuels the programs that create real change right here at home. Your ticket helps provide food, education, wellness services, and hope to those who need it most. Celebrate compassion, support your community. Learn more and get involved at olmoutreach.org. Because when we love our neighbors, we all rise together.
And it takes a strong leader to be able to go into a community, listen and hear the vision for that community.
Right.
Listen and hear and be able to pick out the barriers, hear what they're not saying, as well as what they're saying, and giving them the tools that they need to build on those strategies. You know, and that's
Talk about how you're giving the farmers the tools and how that has impacted the community and surrounding areas.
Yeah, and like with our farmers, you know, one of the first things we wanted to do was to duplicate what we've done here
Right.
at Low Country 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That is still going very, very strong.
Helped to create this vision.
Absolutely, where we started purchasing food. We were buying food at the food bank anyway.
Right.
And being intentional and purchasing food from these small Black farmers. They don't have the large contracts. They don't have, you know, tractor trailer loads of product. They're just trying to hold on to the land that's been in their family for generations.
Absolutely.
And in doing so, trying to earn a living. You know, so the program was actually intentional as our way in to that community to say, hey, listen, you don't have an out for your produce. We want to buy it from you.
Gotcha.
And then working with them to determine where is the cost balance here.
Right.
Okay. I know you want us to pay this.
Right.
Okay. Food banks are used to paying nothing or asking for free.
Right.
You know, but that's not investing
right
into a community.
Gotcha.
So talking to that farmer, we were able to build a shared price list that was beneficial to both of us and begin to purchase that product.
Yeah.
What happened from that point is farmers were able to use that income and pay community members to come help them harvest.
Absolutely.
Use that income to get their GAP certification. So now they are more equipped to be able to sell their produce to local restaurants and the local grocery stores because they're GAP certified.
Wow.
You know, and so you begin to see that happening.
Yeah.
And then bringing these farmers together to say, okay, so what are the challenges? What are the barriers that continue to exist?
Right.
Of course, labor, especially in these rural communities.
And young people don't want to farm.
Young people don't want to farm because they don't see a living in it, you know? And so collectively working with these farmers, we understood that how high tunnels can remove a barrier.
Right.
You know, some of those farmers were driving 2 states over just to buy starter plants.
Wow.
Okay. So now that high tunnels have been put on some of these farmers' property, they're able to grow their own starter plants.
That's awesome.
And they're selling them to each other.
Okay.
So the money is staying within the local community.
Awesome.
You know, and so at that point, neighbors started wanting to get involved.
Right.
Okay. And so that's when we offered another opportunity with raised beds. So we went in, we taught them how to build raised beds. 12 pieces of wood. You know, we taught them how to put it together, and we give them the curriculum that they're able to follow, a 12-month curriculum to grow produce, and that would grow in their area.
Right.
And they began to do what we call micro farming.
Okay.
So we've distributed over 400 raised beds in that community.
That's awesome.
So you have local churches that have 10, 20 raised beds on their church property.
Okay.
And to hear these seniors, you know, have a conversation and say, my family came in from out of town. And we took them to the church, to the garden, and got groceries and came back and made Sunday dinner.
Wow.
When you hear families talking to say, my husband and I were having some challenges. And once we put that raised bed out, it did something with his mind that he was able to work in the ground, and now we do it together as a family.
That's amazing.
So there are so many things that happen when you are able to remove a barrier and give them a tool that they can use to better equip themselves. And that led to their agricultural youth program.
Right.
And so now you have interns that are coming from the local colleges that are
high schoolers there too.
Interns coming from the local colleges, and then high schools.
Yeah.
So during the summer, they have over 200 kids that actually run the farm.
Actually run the farm.
They run the business of the farm themselves. This is what they're teaching them.
Yeah.
And so they formalize their own board.
Okay.
And have their board chair and their treasurer, and then they have to learn how to get the most out of this land.
Okay.
And so they may have an irrigation issue.
Gotcha.
And so now they have to sit and strategize, well, how do we drain to get this water out of the field?
They've got to create these solutions.
They got to create these solutions there on their own, of course, with the assistance and oversight of leadership. But this is what they're learning themselves to do.
Gotcha.
You know, and that led to one of the local high schools acquiring several acres to have a farm. And so now that local high school out in Halifax County, they're growing fresh produce. Their 10th, 11th, and 12th graders are participating in the agriculture program. They're driving the tractors. They're planting the crops.
Okay.
They're harvesting the crops. And the Halifax County school system is purchasing the produce.
For lunch?
For the school lunch.
Oh, wow.
Purchasing the produce.
That's amazing.
And so the students are growing the food and eating the food.
That's amazing.
And the funds that the county is spending to buy that produce is what keep that agricultural program going at that school.
That's leadership.
You know, and so they have the solutions there.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of leading them around the barriers or removing the barriers so that they're able to accomplish what it is that they want. You know, and this is where we just get so excited that we're able to kind of step back now.
Yeah.
And because that we are watching that community thrive.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the data,
right,
statistics in the data are going to tell you that's a food desert.
Right.
Statistics are going to tell you that
and what's
there's
a food desert for our audience?
A food desert is a USDA term that means that there is no local access to fresh, nutritious food.
Right.
So there isn't a grocery store or a place to purchase food.
Gotcha.
In that particular area.
Within a certain
radius. Geographical radius.
Gotcha.
Yes. And so those areas are called food deserts.
Gotcha.
Now, that's what the data tells us that area is.
Right.
But if you go and you talk to the people, they would say, we live in a food oasis.
Wow.
I walk out of my front door and go to my garden and I have fresh produce.
Gotcha.
And they started the micro farming. Whereas if you're growing all collards in your raised bed, someone else is growing all cabbage in theirs. Now they're sharing produce.
That's amazing, brother.
So you got somebody down the street that's growing all broccoli. You have another neighbor that's growing carrots or something else.
Gardening.
And it's community gardening, and they're sharing that product.
Wow.
You know, and so one of the things that Kanita Family Life Center did to spark that was every box of produce you share with somebody, we're going to pay you $25 a box.
Wow.
So that inspired them to grow one item and happily pass it on to their neighbor, you know, because the raised beds, everyone contributes, you know, and so it's a pay what you can program, and it's up to $100.
Okay.
And so as you share your produce, they're paying you for every box you give to someone to reimburse you for your money you spent for the raised bed.
That's incredible.
And that's what it, you know, so those type of things. And now we're seeing nutrition education that's happening at the churches now.
Absolutely.
Now we're seeing them acquiring vehicles. They're able to apply for grants now because we have assisted them with their infrastructure.
Gotcha.
Something as simple as helping an organization create job descriptions.
Right.
How to fill out a grant application, how to report on that grant application. Those basics, you know, is what really
is invaluable for a smaller organization.
Absolutely. And it's assisting them to be self-sustaining.
Right.
So now I don't have to send my truck to that community to deliver food anymore.
Right.
Now
to create
we
food
sit
from
and we
within.
talk about where else we want to go.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the part about this work that I actually love.
Yeah.
You know, is seeing the end
Right.
of our need
Right.
to be there.
Well, I mean, isn't that the mission of organizations like ours, is to get to a space where our communities no longer need us, because we help to create solutions, co-share solutions to end hunger and to end food deserts in our community.
Yeah, it is. And some organizations, you know, feel like, hey, it's just my responsibility to make sure that they eat.
Yeah.
That's great. And we absolutely value that because it starts there.
Right.
You know, and so that person is going to need that meal.
Yeah.
But if we stop there, you got to remember that person's going to always need that meal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so now you're feeding that person 3 meals a day,
Right.
every single day.
Right.
But you can start with the meal.
Yeah.
But then you have to continue the
Yeah.
conversation.
It doesn't end there.
It doesn't end there. You have to continue the conversation. I think that's where some leaders miss the opportunity because they say, well, it's not my lane.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
But it is your responsibility to bring the person whose lane it is for the next stage into the conversation because you're just going to have to keep doing that.
Right.
Okay. And like we see now, with funds get cut, federal dollars get cut, programs get cut. Now you can no longer meet that basic need.
Yeah.
You know? And so I try to look, you know, I always say, you know, senior leaders or nonprofit leaders have to have a long-term vision.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to see a generation or two down the road.
Right.
You know, so when I look at Kaneda and I see the amount of kids that are involved, I can see that program 20 years down the road.
Absolutely.
I can see that program 40 years down the road, 2 generations down the road.
Yeah.
Because those children are involved now and they're seeing we can make a living.
Right.
They're seeing this does make a difference.
Right.
I don't have to move away from the country and home when I graduate from college to make a living.
Yeah.
I have opportunities right here in my own neighborhood, in my own community. So being able to see that generations down the road is what makes this work so rewarding for me.
You want to shout those folks out for our audience here?
Yes.
You want to shout out
all of those folks at Kaneda Family Life Center out in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, our friends that are in Chatham County, Wake County, Durham County, that are all doing their thing and that are self-sustaining themselves. And not only that, but are teaching and working with other communities to do the same thing. That's what we say when we mean community taking care of community.
Absolutely. Well, Ron, one last thought I want you to leave with our audience as well is that, I mean, you've almost been in this work 30 years now. And for someone who is on the sideline, who's interested or thinking about getting into the work, either as a volunteer or a philanthropist or just interested in nonprofit work or service work, what's a piece of advice or nugget of wisdom that you would leave our audience?
What I would say is think of your lived experience. Things that you grew up with that you might not believe or you thought were just situations.
Right.
Find the strategies in them. And when you begin to see, hey, I have experience with that.
Right.
That impacted me when I was young.
Yeah.
Find that space. And then find the people that are doing that work. Okay? And commit to that. You know, you don't want to run from this place to that place. You want to build relationships.
Right.
And so if you find an organization that you really want to volunteer in because it resonates and it catches with you, be prepared for the long-term journey. Be prepared to build a relationship so that if you're a volunteer, you understand the organizational needs. Yeah. You're able to bring your expertise and your lived experience to that organization with a commitment.
Right.
Because when you're committed to that, it does save the organization's dollars.
Absolutely.
Okay? Yeah. And whether that commitment is once a month, twice a week, whatever that commitment is, you're really saving that organization resources. You know, I always tell people you can I ask for three things: your time, your talent, and your treasure.
Absolutely.
Your time, you're volunteering and you're committing to that.
Yeah.
Your talent, we have skilled volunteers.
Right.
We have people that retired, like at Low Country Food Bank, that
Yeah,
taught us
man.
that years ago. We had a retired engineer,
Absolutely.
you know, at our food bank.
That can crusher thing.
And he was like, you know, I've been volunteer here. I committed to this organization. And I see in your food process when you're sorting this,
Right.
we're throwing away cans that had a dent or whatever the case is. There has to be something we can do differently.
Yeah.
And so he using his professional experience
Absolutely.
and built a vacuum chamber
Absolutely.
that pressure checked all of the cans,
Absolutely.
and we went and reduced our waste 80%.
Significantly.
Significantly. That was a volunteer.
Rich, we remember you, brother.
That's right, Rich, absolutely. That was a volunteer that contributed his
Absolutely.
talent.
Yes.
You know, and for others, your treasure.
Right.
You know, you might not be able to get there because you have a tough schedule during the week.
Yeah.
You might not be able to find the time to volunteer, but your contribution, your commitment there to that organization is what keeps that work going.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to be present on site to be present in that individual's life that you're serving. So many of the people that support organizations like that, they'll never see these neighbors.
Yeah.
You know, children that are in backpack classes now, you know, that's graduating in a few years, you know, that's moving on and becoming something. That child is looking back in his life and saying, that backpack made a difference.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what? That's what you did for them.
Absolutely.
With your one small contribution.
Yeah.
You know, so never think that is too little.
Right.
With your gift.
Yep.
You know, I remember I signed every donation letter that comes to our organization.
Wow.
You know, and it's my communication
whether it's $1,
team, whether it's $1, whether it's $10,000.
Okay.
Because I want that donor to know how much I appreciate them.
Yeah.
That I can stop and take the time to do that. And sometimes that's 11, 12 o'clock at night that I'm signing letters.
Yeah.
But it's just that important to me for that donor to know how much I appreciate them for giving. You know, it's just a small gesture.
Right.
But I'm thanking them on behalf of the thousands of families and children
neighbors
that
they've impacted.
Hunger is not a reality for them. And I think that's in essence what I try to do. I had that opportunity to hope, to dream, you know, to play, you know, dream to going into the Air Force.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to do that because food was present.
Right.
But when I meet children that have a reality of knowing food's not present, their reality is,
very different.
What are we going to eat when the summer's coming up?
Right.
Or we're getting ready for the holiday break.
Yeah.
What are we going to eat?
Right.
That's their reality. They're worrying, you know, they're under pressure. They're not able to be children. So what do you want to be when you grow up? That's the furthest thing from their mind.
Absolutely.
They're trying to wonder, what are they going to eat tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's what food does. Food allows these children to be children.
Yeah.
It allowed them to hope. It allowed them to be able to dream and aspire to.
Yeah.
Live life, make mistakes, learn from them, become better citizens and contribute back to this society and this community.
Absolutely.
You know, and so while others might think it's just a meal, some might think it's just $1, I can promise you it is so much more.
Brother, thank you so much for joining us.
This has been a blessing, man.
Changemakers and
Absolutely.
Champions. I will share with you that I know for a fact that the food bank that's on Cosgrove right now would not be what it is today. Azalea Drive, yes. Without your leadership, without your ingenuity, and you being an innovative leader. And so I am proud to call you a friend and a partner and a brother, because a lot of the work that has been accomplished in this community surrounding the food bank still yet today would have not been accomplished without your leadership, brother.
Well, that goes both ways. I am the leader I am today because of my lived experience with you. You know, you've never went to a learning or a training that I didn't come back, I didn't go through as well, because you brought him back and you shared the information, you know? So every lesson you learned, you brought back. So it was almost like a Color Purple moment, you know? when Nady was coming home and, training,
absolutely.
teaching her how to read and teaching her how to do these things. And,
That's funny.
it's that lived experience that, I believe is why the food bank here is where it is because we took what we've learned throughout our life, our experiences, and we put them into strategies.
Right.
And that's what built that organization.
Absolutely.
Is that lived experience. And that's what I see continuing under the new leadership there with Nick. Doing a phenomenal job out there. He's my guy.
Yeah.
And
Nick,
shout out to you.
brother.
This is my guy. That is my guy. Him and Margaret and the whole team that's out there.
Absolutely.
And you hear it when you talk to the employees.
Yeah.
You hear it when you talk to the neighbors.
Yeah.
Who speak of that organization.
Right.
That you don't see the culture written on the wall.
Right.
You hear it in the experience of the volunteers share. You hear it in the experience the agencies feel.
Yeah.
So that's what a strong culture and a relationship looks like.
It's in the fabric of the being of that
It's in the
organization.
fabric. Community's taking care of community, brother.
Thank you, man. Love you, man.
Love you, man. And thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
All right. Pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for joining us at another episode of Changemakers and Champions. I am again Jermaine Huser, able to be the host of this amazing show for Our Lady of Mercy Community Outreach Services.
Awesome.